Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our show, Why Did I Attend an HBCU? I am your host, Michelle Campbell, and we have an exciting show this evening. If you tuned in last month, you'll recall I spoke with graduates from predominantly white institutions. Well, tonight I have four graduates from historically Black colleges and universities to share with us the good, the bad, the challenging, the rewarding experiences from attending their respective colleges. Historically Black colleges and university, HBCUs, are institutions of higher education in the United States that were established before the Civil Rights Act of 1964 with the intention of primarily serving the African American community. Most of these institutions were founded in the years after the American Civil War and are concentrated in the southern United States. In 2020, there were 101 HBCUs located in 19 states, the District of Columbia, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The number of HBCU students increased by 47% from 223,000 to 327,000 students between 1976 and 2010. Then it decreased to 15% to 279,000 students between 2010 and 2020. I should also note that overall higher learning education had decreased, not just through the HBCU colleges and universities. Although HBCUs were originally founded to educate Black students, they enroll students of other races as well. The composition of HBCUs has changed over time. In 2020, non-Black students made up 24% of enrollment at HBCU, compared with 15% in 1976. In the 2019-2020 academic year, approximately 48,000 degrees were conferred by HBCUs. 11 were associate's degrees, 69% were bachelor degrees, 14% were master's degrees, and 6% were doctor's degrees. Tonight's panelists are graduates from an HBCU. So let me take a moment to introduce our panel to you. First up, we have Christine Burkett. She is the CEO of Promising Integration Consulting Firm Incorporated, the only Black woman-owned IT consulting firm located in Detroit, Michigan. She is also the CEO and inventor of 5F's to Love, LLC, a new relationship compatibility and lifestyle brand. Christine from Detroit attended Delaware State University in Dover, Delaware, completing her Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry. She received her Master of Science degree in curriculum and instruction at Capella University in 2010. Her second master's degree in science at Marygrove College in 2012. She is currently enrolled in the Wayne State University doctoral program in psychology and technology. Christine has worked in the Fortune 500 companies from General Motors to ProQuest in the roles as corporate trainer, senior IT project manager, IT consultant, and business strategist. As the former CIO of Detroit Public Schools Community District, she has over 20 years of experience in IT and education. Christine launched Promising Integrations Consulting Firm Incorporated in 2012 that provides professional development training on how to integrate tech in the classroom. Over the years, Promising Integrations Consulting Firm has transitioned into an IT consulting firm providing IT services globally. You can catch her weekly education podcast, Educators Roundtable, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on her YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and Facebook. In 2019, she launched the 5F's to Love LLC, a relationship lifestyle brand that is designed to building stronger and healthier relationships. The 5F's to Love relationship compatibility app is designed to help people align core values in a relationship. You can catch the Five F's to Love podcast every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on her YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. Wow, Christine, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Eddie Flowers. He is a Detroit native and an avid ambassador of his city in all those things that he loves. Born to Yvonne and Edward Flowers, Eddie quickly found his footing in life with the help of his 7 siblings. The seventh of 8 children of a blended family, Eddie gained strength through his relationship with his siblings. He learned the importance of timeliness, cleanliness, and courage from his mother and 4 sisters. He learned hard work and discipline from his father and 2 older brothers, which he passed down to his younger brother. Upon entering high school as a subpar student and decent athlete, he found himself working hard to prove that he was intelligent and good at sports. As this work ethic grew over the years, it allowed Eddie to began a stellar and highly recruited football player. Let me say that again. As this work ethic grew over the years, it allowed Eddie to begin as a stellar student and a highly recruited football player. Despite receiving scholarship offers from colleges around the country, Eddie shocked those around him by walking onto a Division I FCS football program at Florida A&M University. When interviewed as to why this decision was made to go south to play ball, Eddie answered, "I was wanted and not tolerated there." Eddie sustained a major injury, which unfortunately ended his football career. As a result, Eddie focused more on his academics and received 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree, all from Florida A&MU. Currently, Eddie is a science and math teacher for the Baltimore County Public Schools, and he is the founder of The Farm, Former Athletes Remaining Mentors. This program mentors Black young men in STEM related fields, as well as strength and conditioning training. He also owns a custom floor company. He is a 21-year member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Eddie is a proud husband and father of 2 very bright children, Cameron and Amir. Welcome to our show, Eddie. All right, next up we have Todd Ivory. He is the CEO of TJ Marshall Consulting Group and TJ Marshall Tax Service and Accounting. In this role, Todd oversees, coordinates, manages, and leads a team of financial accountants and planners. Todd is a financial tax accountant and holds a bachelor's degree in marketing with a minor in accounting from Morehouse College. Todd is no stranger to financial and accounting fields, having spent 30 years as an accountant and entrepreneur, where during the years of 1992 to 2003, he owned and operated a Jackson Hewitt tax service franchise, where he was the first Black and the youngest Black to own this franchise at the age of 25. He expanded the franchise into 3 locations and was the pioneer who started the concept of having a kiosk in Walmart stores that prepared taxes while you shopped. After an 11-year run, he sold the franchise back to them and started his own firm, where he's been a successful person in small business ownership and in working with individuals with taxes and mentoring small businesses and entrepreneurs. Welcome to the show, Todd. And last but certainly not least, we have Lieutenant Commander Diane Richardson of the United States Public Health Service. She graduated from Florida A&M University in 1996 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Economics. At FAMU, she was a collegiate scholarship athlete for the women's tennis team and a member of Beta Alpha chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She her later educational achievements included a master's degree in healthcare systems administration from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and a master's certificate in project management from the George Washington University. Her career experiences include private and public sector in the fields of healthcare benefits consulting, or healthcare benefits consulting, public health administration, and IT project management. She is currently stationed at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration as a senior program manager. Lieutenant Commander Richardson manages the operations of the FDA's enterprise-wide user fee resource capacity program. She is married to retired Lieutenant Colonel James Richardson Jr., United States Marine Corps, and is the mother of two daughters, Avery and Jordan. Diane enjoys volunteering for her daughter's Girl Scout troops. She is an active member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and loves to play tennis. Welcome to the show, Diane, and welcome all of our panelists to the show. As you can see, we have some really highly educated, highly successful panelists here today. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with the first question I have for all of you. So, what made you decide to attend an HBCU? Anybody can take that one first.
I'll go. I grew up in Maryland. That's where I reside, and in the suburbs, Columbia, Maryland, which is a planned community, a very diverse community, or so I thought back in the 70s and 80s growing up, where I was one or three Black people in the class. Maybe you had one Asian and maybe an Indian, and predominantly white. So, but the other thing is, my parents, I'm an African Methodist Episcopal church member. So from that background, I was exposed to a lot of Morehouse, Spelman, Morgan, Howard alum. So it's exposure. Also in the DMV, you literally trip into a Black college if you really want to. You have Bowie, Morgan, Coppin, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Go kick it to DC, you have Howard, UDC, and then go a little further, you got Hampton, so it's in the culture. And also a lot of the DMV is very transient. So you have a mix, a wide variety. In Florida A&M also has a very big alumni presence as well. So with that being said, I was like, you know what, I really want to kind of change the atmosphere, and where I wanted to go was to study history and political science. And I said, you know what, I think I really want to, given the strong political, historical background of Black colleges, I wanted to do it there. And also I was influenced, like I said, many of, play aunties and uncles, they went to Morehouse, Spelman. My dad was a Prairie View A&M alum. And so it's in my family. And my sisters, they went to Howard University. So there you go. Also, I was considering playing tennis, and, where better to go to the home of, alma mater of Althea Gibson, right?
That's
so
right.
There you go. I was like, FAMU. Also, my aunt, my mom was like, hey, explore other colleges. It's, Howard's great, just look at some other things. And so my aunt, who actually lived in Florida at the time, FAMU was really hitting the charts on, becoming a very top known Black, historically Black college, thanks to Dr. Frederick S. Humphreys. He really, the administration there really put their heart and their mind in creating this collective community of Black excellence. And he attracted, Fortune 500 corporations, and hey, look at FAMU. Look, I got the scholars. He was recruiting top scholars. Just, people were turning down Harvard, Yale. I'm going to FAMU. So it's almost becoming the, this Harvard of the South, if you could say. So, and also, I've been in the East Coast. I have the Northern experience. I think I'd like to go get that Southern, experience. And that's what led me to there. It was always an option. I knew I was going to college. Like I said, I'm probably second generation college. My grandfather, he went to K-State, you know. So it's just I just knew it was going to be a black college at that point. So.
Thank you. Anyone else want to take that question?
I'll go ahead. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Actually, it was a little bit different for me. And Christine and Todd and Michelle, being from Detroit, you all will be able to attest to this. We don't have HBCUs there except for Detroit College of Business. Our closest HBCU was Central State. When I was being recruited, all we knew was Michigan, Michigan State. So the last session you had with the, I'll call it larger institutions, because when we were growing up, there was no such thing as a PWI. You just either went to Michigan or Michigan State. It wasn't classified as a race thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But when I was recruited to those schools, and it sticks out, Michigan State sticks out the most because they brought a superstar in to recruit me. We never went into a classroom. That was number one. And the school that we went to was a college prep. So imagine us, Todd, imagine me going back to coach and telling him I never talked to a professor. He had his whole football team. We learned how to type. He said, no one, you will never pay for anybody to type your term papers. So that's where we come from. But when signing day came, I didn't sign because they wanted to take me from my position and put me in another position. At this time, this is when Dion was at his pinnacle. These Florida boys were running 4.3, 4.4 all day. I wasn't. So when I looked at the larger institutions, I knew they were going to shift me because of my size. And I was a tweener. I was 6'2.5" and not 6'3". I was 195 and not 200. So our high school was a good fit for me. I needed to find a college for that. So on signing day, when I didn't sign, my neighbor from 2 doors down comes down, give me all of your tapes. At this time, that's when we had VCR tapes. Within 2 weeks, I started getting tons of letters and phone calls. Howard, Bowie, and Morgan wasn't in the mix. Everybody that we now know as a high-level HBCU, all saying we will find money for your talent. And then the last one came in, and it was from Grambling, from Eddie Robinson, and it says, "Son, I will find money for you to come to Grambling." At that point, I knew I was good. So you didn't have to prove it to me by putting me at another position and doing what I needed to do. I qualified for every college that I wanted to get into. So a couple of weeks ago, I heard Lloyd, talking about University of Illinois. We had to qualify just because Proposition 48 had just come out. And for athletes, if you didn't cut the grade, you did not play, or you got, now they call it red shirted, but you had to sit out a year. So what Todd doesn't know is when they came home for spring break, class of 87, his best Morehouse had come in to recruit me, Todd. They weren't giving scholarships, but they came in to recruit half of us off of my team because of our talent and our grades. But Todd's best friend, Sean Benson, came, and Sean and I grew up together from, he was first grade, I was kindergarten. He tipped me to Florida A&M. 7 of us from my high school went down there. And I found this niche that said, you can be. Our President Humphreys, with Sister Richardson is saying, he said this in our check-in. We accept you as smart. You don't have to prove it every time you come in class. What I found with my friends who went to larger institutions, every day they had to be on. I mean, on. There was no, Michelle, I know you were the only African-American in a lot of your engineering classes. Yeah. You had to be on every day.
Every day.
We had to be on, but if we were off, our pressurization was by people who looked like us. Todd made me great at football. His class made us great because they were great. So that pressurization, I had to look up and ask myself, where's it going to come from? Is it going to come from somebody who's going to tolerate me just because I can play ball, or somebody who can take my intellect and take it to a higher level? Plus, we went to a college prep school. I was a draftsman. I was a certified draftsman coming out of high school. So I was looking for a school of architecture. None of the Big Ten took me to their architectural programs. As soon as I went to Hampton and FAM, I ended up going straight to those departments and speaking to the professors. And they told me what the rigors were going to be. And it may not happen with football, but you can come back around and get your master's in it. They were talking my education and not just my brawn. So that's how I ended up at a HBCU.
Awesome. Awesome. This is good. I want to hear from the others now.
I'll just, my process was a little bit different. I didn't talk a lot in high school, and I really like science. And so I was the first in my family to go to college. Automatically got accepted to our local universities, all in the state of Michigan, but where I wanted to go because of, I loved Maya Angelou, and she talked about Spelman so much that I wanted to go to Spelman. And so, but when I got the letter of acceptance, they only gave me a partial scholarship. And the other schools gave me full scholarships. All of the Black universities gave me full scholarships. So when my parents and I went on tour, because of my personality, they thought Howard was too big for me because I didn't really talk. And I just wanted to study chemistry, but I could also play music. So I had so much money, I could go anywhere. And I had just won a Duracell contest. So I had money from them and money from a lot of other companies. So we went to Delaware State. The president was so nice to me, and he introduced me to several of the science department professors. And when they got a chance to meet me, they said, "This young lady's brilliant. We want her." But I also, my parents had to explain to them, she's like a little child. She doesn't really socialize. So you guys are going to have to coddle her. So what happened was I ended up taking courses at Delaware State and also at the White University, University of Delaware, because I wanted to be a doctor, and I was the first student who they took on. And so because they made accommodations to drive me to the University of Delaware 3 times a week, my parents decided I was going to Delaware State. I'm going to tell you, I was the first to go to college in my family, and it was the best choice ever. I think if I had gone to Spelman, because the boys at Morehouse were so attractive when I went down to that campus, I probably would have gotten in a lot of trouble. And I probably wouldn't have done the things that I did, because Delaware State was in Dover, Delaware. There's like horse and buggy thing situation happening. It wasn't a lot of trouble to get into because the closest thing was the Air Force Base, right? With a bunch of Army Air Force guys or whatever. But I'm going to say it was the best experience ever for me. And I'm glad my parents made me go there, because me being a person who was not very, I was an introvert. It was really great because the black girls there from DC, which I totally love, they helped me get my glam together, right? Because the DC girls were together. And then the football players watched out for me. And they were like my big brothers. And I will tell you right now, they put a bad name out there, Michelle, about the Qs. But those Qs were like big brothers to me because I was their math tutor. And that was the thing that really helped me. I was the smart girl, and everybody's like, "Oh, she can help you with your math and stuff." So all of those business majors would come to me so I could tutor them, and then they all looked out for me. So I'm saying attending a Black university was really great experience for me, and it helped me become the person I am today. So yeah, my experience is a little bit different.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing. So I see Todd is in transit. So
yeah,
if you're able to still talk, we'll take it. So
yeah, so I'd like to expound on what Eddie was saying earlier. I can recall guys from Morehouse, bow tie and all, coming to visit the school and basically just trying to give us a whole experience on just becoming a quote unquote Morehouse man or a man in general. And like he said, growing up in Detroit, Michigan, you rarely didn't see outside.
I think you might be in an area where we're losing you. All right.
So until Todd comes back in, just to give you all a little bit more about his background.
You really didn't
Todd,
get a chance to see.
There you go. Okay.
Uh-oh. Todd, we still don't quite have you. Your frame is frozen right now.
So
Go ahead, Eddie.
most of the guys in our age range, we grew up hip hop, first generation. A lot of us didn't see men that went to college. So Michelle, before we went live, you spoke of the skilled trades. Most of our fathers were skilled trades. My mom was first generation to go to school, but she went to Madonna College before it was a university.
Mm-hmm.
She worked 2 full-time jobs, went to school for 4 straight years. So my level of understanding for education came watching my mom bust her hump to go get it.
Mm-hmm.
Then the crack era transitioned. So now everybody and Diane can attest to this a little bit. I know where Columbia is. I'm not too far from Columbia now. So she may not have seen what we saw. So the death, murder, and mayhem that we saw when the South came and allowed 17, 18-year-old boys to not have to be so hardcore. I'll never forget my second day on campus. One of the professors looked at me. I'm standing in the middle of campus, and she was like, "Baby, you don't have to look like that. Where you from?" I'm like, "Look like what?" You don't have to look like you getting ready to beat the world up.
Right.
Look, and she stood next to me and spun me around. She said, "Everybody here had to work hard to get here."
Yeah.
And then we get to class. Male professor said the ratio is 17-1. You're talking 1988. 17-1 women to men. So Christine, yeah, you would have got in trouble. But the issue was, and this was the statement that was made to us, that one mistake can end you back on the front porch at home, or you can court. And now this is the first time we're hearing about relationships because a lot of us came from broken homes. You can court a smart woman and build something with her. Okay, you trying to tell me, and this is going back to what Diane's saying. My class, we came in with over 300 academic scholars. I mean, when I say that, I mean merit scholars. So we had the most in the country at that time, valedictorians and salutatorians. One of them being my best friend. I never forget seeing this 6'7" guy walk out of his house. I'm thinking he's getting recruited for basketball. It was the president of the university recruiting my best friend, who was our valedictorian. He recruited us scholars like coaches did ball players.
Wow.
So then and this is Kelly and I not even knowing that we're both looking at Florida A&M. I chose Florida A&M because the head coach was one of my favorite pro football players. And now I'm sitting in front of him.
Yeah,
but
that's nice.
He brought us all the way in. And to Christine's point, picked her up and took her to get her education in Dover, Delaware. Made that promise to her mother and father, and committed to it. And then she was able to find her path.
That's awesome. You know, I actually learned something today. You know, I didn't really know like how all y'all got down there. But I just remember a lot of people from high school going to FAMU. And I was like, boy, you know, everybody down at FAMU, but you're telling me an awesome story. You know, I did not know that they, you know, really took that time to recruit you, you know, for academics, that they actually talk to you about relationships. That's one of the things you're not going to get at a predominantly white institution. You know, it's kind of like you're a number. I still remember my number down there, you know, at State. And so, yeah, definitely teaching you more about, I guess, life skills. I think the closest thing we had was this class that really helped African American engineers because they were few and far between. But that was about it. What was that again?
T.I., you there?
Uh-oh, he's cut up again.
He's cut off again. So and then Michelle, there's a natural gravitation. I'm trying to fill in while Todd is not here.
Yes.
When Christine and I met, it was actually I was doing some public speaking over at Redford High School, and she needed somebody to fill in because I think Christine, and correct me if I'm incorrect, the other speaker wasn't able to come or what have you, and she asked me to do a talk for her, and it was like at that point we didn't even know what schools we went to, but it was I saw this passion in her for these kids, and having lost so many of my friends to the violence in Detroit, it was like some of these kids need to hear something so that they can get up and out of here. And
Right.
when my brother came back from the military, he told me, he was like, oh man, you leaving, we just don't know where you're going yet, because his thing was you're not going to mature staying at home in the nest. And I mean, real talk, and I stay in touch with my football team from high school like most athletes do with their teams. Out of 27 of us that graduated the same year, 100% of the ones that went to HBCUs graduated.
That's awesome.
The ones that did not had hiccup after hiccup after hiccup. Not to say that they were not intelligent individuals. I don't think they had the nurturing and the safety net of a father figure or a brother figure to pull them back in when they were failing. Or if that one mistake was made, then all right, man, we all went through that. Todd, you back, brother?
Yeah, I apologize.
No, it's on you, man. Go ahead.
I forgot where I left off, but just in general, the
bow ties.
Yeah. So, just for me as an experience, just young Black men growing up in Detroit, Michigan, we really never seen that Black college experience. These brothers came from Morehouse College, very dapper, and of course, Detroit was a very dapper, flashy city. I liked the message that they were saying. I wasn't going for athleticism, but I was going for education. My pops had went to Central State. I knew I didn't want to go to school in the North or Northwest. I wanted to go down South and kind of get that different experience. Upon arriving, I went early. I went like fresh out of high school. I went to a early college program. At that time, they were still filming School Days with Spike Lee, because Spike Lee had already graduated, came back to the college, and was shooting scenes from the movie there.
Oh, nice.
And I enjoyed for me, it was about, let me get my education first so I can play with the ladies later. And of course, coming from Benedictine as a co-ed school, we were, we had a lot of fun, and we grew to know and have respect for one another. And that friendship, and Eddie can tell you, that friendship has lasted over 40 years now. These people that we've met that have gone to every Catholic school we were at during that time frame in Detroit, Michigan, we all are friends to this day. Yep. The same thing goes when I know I used to come see Eddie at FAMU, my freshman, sophomore year. My first couple of girlfriends went to FAM. We were always up and down that road, visiting all the schools, visiting all our friends that went to every HBCU at the time. And even though it was an HBCU, it was strictly to us like, oh, that's the college where my friends go, so let me go visit them. You know what I mean? No matter what it was. So I think my experience for a lot of reasons was because I liked the camaraderie that I had in high school, I could get that in college too.
Right.
And then you didn't see that everywhere. You didn't see it. You didn't see it only when we went to visit other people at other schools that you see the same thing. So I love that I love that one-on-one interaction. I didn't want to be grouped in an auditorium and I'm just a number. I needed that one-on-one attention. I wanted to be able to understand the curriculum and be able to be something later on and be like, oh, I'm just, passing the time away because I'm in this big room and it's 300 students, So that was really kind of the reason why I went there, went to a historically Black college.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to another question that we have here. How important were Black student groups like caucuses, fraternities, sororities, Black organizations relative to your major in helping you get through college? How important were those social or even academic organizations in your, I guess, success in helping you get through school?
I'll start it.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I didn't pledge in college. Number one, when I got hurt, I had to find my footing as a student. And then what I realized was that in being a mentor now and helping kids find their way through school, they don't tell us in high school that there's a difference between a 4-year degree and professional school. So I go to school to be an architect, not knowing that it's professional school that I have to apply to get back into college. So I didn't get in. Now what? I'm coming back home to go to Lawrence Tech because they were going to give me a full scholarship. That wasn't the answer. The provost actually walked me down when I told him I was leaving and helped me find an option. So those same organizations that you're talking about, Michelle, and this goes back to, because I watched the last episode a couple of times to draw parallels. Number one, the organizations all taught us timeliness, discipline, and how to act in a group. What college does is it teaches you A to Z how to start and how to finish something. So when I sit down with Christine in a board meeting, I know that Robert Rules of Orders are in effect. We're going to speak as educated individuals. So I would say NASB. I was in Black Construction Organization, Black Land Surveyors Organization, which I founded in the Southeast. It's a situation for us to learn protocol.
Yeah.
And then when we meet our counterparts at larger institutions, Florida State, things like that, we can mesh and be on the same page. That's what I got from it.
Anyone else want to chime in on that one?
I think organizations are very important. Like I said, they teach you life skills, leadership, diversity. I think there's this misnomer that you go to Black college and everybody's just one flavor. No. So I could test to Detroit, Chicago. I had never met, like, they were deep at FAMU. And I mean, it was just like, so I really didn't know anybody, other than maybe Prince came from the Midwest. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know anybody, Black people from the Midwest. My parents, they were from Texas and Kansas. So when we went away, we're going south and west, you know what I mean? So, and I had a godmother in Atlanta, but not really, so met people from, Portland, Oregon, my best friends from Compton, California, and Colorado. How diverse is that? But then, you're learning to, obviously being from Maryland, I'm like, all right, come on. I had to know that I got to slow down. In the South, it's a little slower.
Okay.
And so I even have to know that today. Like, I'm in the government. I came from the private sector. Guess what? It's slow down in the government, right? A lot of bureaucracy to get through. So I'm using those communication skills that I learned to get along with my fellow, co-eds, and appreciate their diversity, because guess what? I came from middle class, in income and going down and seeing other people's concerns of, okay, you came to college with a burlap sack. Okay, you're here on this scholarship. I wasn't on scholarship. I walked on the tennis team. They gave me some money. Thanks, yay. But it wasn't non-negotiable. I knew I was going to be there. It was affordable, but I knew, in those organizations, an SGA, a student government, an economics club, tennis team, even, you had to learn, and Delta Sigma Theta, tons of, people from all over, the United States. And you had to get your concerns, jockey for your resources, things like that. And you learned how to negotiate and learn how to hustle. That's that thing about HBC. We we hustle different, right? We just do that, and I think it has totally shaped how I operate, even in the federal government, that I, once again, big pool of people, see from, you have people from Harvard to Johns Hopkins University to, okay, you went to University of Maryland Extension College. We're all in the federal government, okay, but we all have to negotiate these resources, and get our points across. So I think organizations are very key to everyone in college. You need to join. You need to. That's also how you get over your homesickness. I tell you, it was a shock when my parents. FAMU was 18 hours away. When my parents, that car pulled off, I was like, oh my god. I'm 17 years old. I'm born in December, so I was a young freshman, and I was like, I am all alone, and I gotta swim. Okay, gotta find my tribe. And I did. So there's DC Metro Club. First club I joined, DC Metro Club. And then after that, I thought I was going to be a history major. Oh, right. Nope. Found my niche with the business economics people. Found my niche with the tennis team. Found my niche with the cultural people. Found my niche, everywhere, and I think it teaches you how to get along.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I have to agree with Diana, because I think for me, when I went, I didn't even know what, sororities were about. I came from a middle income family. And I'm going to say I was very secluded in that space. But the exposure was really great because I got a chance to see these ladies and I didn't know what was going on. But at the time, I think I had gotten to my junior year, I decided I wanted to pledge Delta. And I remember calling home and I said, Mom, I'm going to need $500. And my mother, who had not gone to college, said to me, why are you paying $500 to get friends? Who is doing this? My mother didn't understand.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Mom, I really want to be with these ladies and they're the Delta. She says, we don't even know any Deltas. What are Deltas? And my mother was she didn't understand. So my stepdad is my dad who raised me. He had gone to college and he was trying to explain to my mom, this is a sorority. So they sent me the money. But what I didn't understand is all of the activities to go through this was at night. And I had an internship. I was a med student, a pre-med student. I had an internship at Kent General Hospital in Delaware. And so those sisters told me, listen, you can't miss. I said, well, I can't miss my job. They said, well, you can't miss. You got to make a decision. Either you doing this or you doing that. Do you understand? For me to get my money back from Delta Sigma Theta, I cried 5 whole days because I had to then tell my mother, who I begged to send me the money, I'm going to send it back to you, and listen to her say, I told you so, as if I failed. But the thing is, even to this day, everyone who I attended college with, and one of the things I think students should understand is that the friendships that I gained, not just at Delaware State, but at Howard University, Grambling, like all of these people, we're still friends to this day. When you go to an HBCU, you just don't have family at that location. You got family. And you pick up the phone and they will like, what's up? What do you need? Where are you at? Stay at my place. You coming in town for an interview? I got you. Like, and I saw the entire world a different way because it allowed me to find out who I was in a safe space where I wasn't going to be picked on because I was different, because of my color. So it allowed me to mature into the person you see today. And right now, when I started my podcast, Reggie Dillard, shout out to the Hornets, Dell State, DSU. He got on a plane and came and did the live podcast with me because his attitude is your family. And if you're going to do this, I'm ride or die with you. So I'm going to say to you, my whole DSU family still supports me to this day. I love them all. And even on social media, they all got my back. Like whatever I'm doing, the DSU, my Howard, one of my best friends is from Howard University. And we still, to this day, we're like the best of friends. She just moved down to Atlanta. So what I'm going to say, if you're thinking about choosing an HBCU versus one of the other, colleges or universities, one of the things I want students to think about is one, it's all about your major. Every HBCU or non-HBCU, as I call them, they don't all have your major. And of course, they made an exception for me, but I want you to think about that. So do your research. The other thing is they do offer scholarships, just like any other university or college does. And so you need to look at that too, because sometimes the apprehension is to go to another one because they're going to give you more money. It's not about the money. It's about the experience. It's 100% about your experience and your ability to be successful in life. So I'm going to say to you, anybody who's making a decision, look at an HBCU first, check it out, and see what's happening. My son is now in college. He did not go to an HBCU, but he went to Georgia Tech. And that's because biomechanical engineering. But the thing is, you know what he said to me? I'm pledging Q, right? So, I mean, I didn't get it all, but I got one, right? I didn't get it all. But the thing is, he wants to work in robotics and biomechanical engineering, make mechanical artificial limbs. So it's not that he didn't want to go. He just didn't find his degree in that space. And that's okay. But you know what he said? Mom, if possible, can I go to Morehouse for grad school? See, those are the things. So it's not that you can't go for your bachelor's. You can go for your master's. You can go for your PhD. But don't get to a point where you're 50 years old and you didn't have that experience. It's a game changer. And like, you know, Eddie said, when I met Eddie, us being from HBCUs, regardless if we went to the same one, it was family. It's home. And by the way, I've played, I was in the band. And when we came down there, you guys marching band, you guys are dangerous down there in Florida. Those guys are like those Gators. I'm telling you, you guys are no joke down there, little rattlers or whatever. You guys are so mean and aggressive down there on that field. Even the football players. So you guys were sweet. You cooked for us. You took
What's wrong with that?
Storms. But y'all tough though down there.
And now, Christine, with that, imagine this: whole football team, we're in line after our morning session. All the upperclassmen start moving. So we as freshmen, we start moving. Why am I moving? The clarinet section is coming. Move. I looked up, the whole clarinet section from the band is coming in, and you move. But we the football team. They're the band.
They're the band.
And we move.
I'm telling you, they respect that band down there. So you guys were no joke back in the day. And that's the other thing too, Michelle, they don't understand. Bands are highly respected at HBCUs. When I tell you those performances on the field was like going to see Prince and Michael Jackson.
I believe it.
Rock star. Yeah.
Now, Michelle, I'm going to transition from what Christine is saying, because what you may not understand is that you went to my sister's school, Michelle. The federal government set up most HBCUs are not where they started. FAMU is not where it started. Florida State and FAMU were actually in each other's positions. The Caucasians thought that it was bad land when it was a normal college, and shifted us to the highest of these 7 hills, and they went down into the valley. Well, they found out that the land was the most fertile soil in the county, and now we're looking down on them. But the federal government came up with what's called a land grant school. None of the property can be taken from a land grant school. So what we used to do with Michigan State, with your farming department, we have what's called a muscadine grape down south. FAMU creates muscadine juice for sale in certain stores. We would ship muscadine juice up to your agriculture department, and they would ship frozen ice cream back down.
Yes,
because of your dairy. Well, when I got ready to go to graduate school, Michigan State was going to pay for it because I was a land grant graduate. But they didn't have environmental sciences. So that's how I ended up back at FAM, and they gave me a full ride. It was one thing. And speaking of internships, Christine said something about internships. The federal government, you all were talking about affirmative action in your last episode. The feds came through and did a wide sweep of all of the HBCUs in the early 90s. I was actually a recipient of one of those jobs in the Pacific Northwest. So I worked around when I heard you all speaking of connectivity and being able to work a room. You were talking about playing golf, I think you were. And I laughed because everybody in this call, if the 4 of us went into a room and we knew what the mission was, Todd is going left, I'm going right, Christine going to hit the middle, and Commander's gonna work the edges. We all coming back with the phone numbers to all of the CEOs in 10 minutes.
Wait,
But
and I'm playing tennis with them.
And you're gonna play tennis with them. And
I got you on the golf.
That's
golf
right.
So from there, and it's not a knock to the others that were speaking. It's a misnomer that we're not getting it in. So my interview, the gentleman says, if we put you in the mountains of Oregon and Washington, what are you going to do? Number one, he tried to play me because he didn't know that I knew it was the Cascade Range. Then I told him I would take a camera, and he said they busted out laughing. I'm kind of feeling Ice Cube-ish at this point. I'm like, eyebrow goes up. He's like, why a camera? I said, because I'm from the concrete jungle of Detroit. I'm down in the swamps of Florida, and my homeboys are not going to believe that you put me in the snow-capped mountains of Oregon and Washington. I worked out there for 4 years and was the only African-American in the country with classification to get on every Indian reservation or Native American reservation in the country. Why is that important? I opened the door for 5 other young men to get their licenses as land surveyors because of that opportunity. The history that Commander is talking about, our history department sat me down for 2 months, and I had to study the Yakima tribe and where they came from and why they even were in Washington at the time. So when I come back, when I go up there, I have to sit with the chief of the tribe, and he has to approve me even doing any work on their reservation. So when we start talking about access and being able to go places, I'm so proud of my niece right now. She actually got a scholarship to FAM, took a full ride to Claflin, which I never even knew it existed because it was, is right next to A&T.
Yeah.
And then she started working in Dallas and just got a huge position with Sherwin-Williams coming out of Claflin State. It's opportunities for all of us out here. It's just all about you starting and finishing when you start college.
Right.
Yeah, understood. I don't know, Todd, if you wanted to add on to that.
I was also part of that government thing. While I was in school, they came through and offered a stay in school program. Another young lady that went to Clark, that was my homegirl from Detroit, Michigan, put me with that program. And I lasted that whole program probably all through college and probably 2 years after I graduated before I even knew and understood what a furlough was. Like, oh, what you mean I'm not working? You're gonna still pay me, but I can't come to work. It's like only for a small period of time. But like you said, she opened the door for other minorities to be able to work at the government. And we worked downtown Atlanta for like 5 years. And I brought people along with me, like she brought me along. So like you said, it's the opportunity. You could never really understand unless you did go that, like Ed said earlier, we all together, we all got one mission. We're going to come in, we all going to take our roles and responsibilities, meet back up and figure out how can we, amass this situation together as a unit, no matter where we coming from. You know what I mean? We all jump in this boat together. Whether Eddie paddles first and I steer the boat in the back or vice versa, and the ladies use the sides to put up the wind sail, we all going to accomplish the goal and get from point A to point B because that's what we were. We were trained that way. That hustle, and you can imagine back when we were in school. Of course, the economic lifestyle at that point was way different than it is today. My son is now he's got accepted to Syracuse for film and television.
Okay.
Why he didn't want to go to school here, that's him. But I'm not upset about the situation. But like you said, maybe grad school, he comes back here and says, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to Clark Atlanta University now, so that I can get better with my film skills." But he wanted to go to a top school. He got accepted. I couldn't be mad at him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's all about that.
Speaking, Christine, you were talking about your son going to Georgia Tech. That actually, I was considering going to Spelman, but I knew I wanted to be an engineer at the same time. And being, 17-year-old graduating again from Detroit, I was like, okay, I'll do the Spelman. They said, well, you can't do your whole program here. You have to finish it up at Georgia Tech. And then I got scared. I was like, oh, I only know about going to one college. I don't know about this transfer, moving over to another college, doing this. And so literally that in my mind at that time, this is in the late 80s, I'm like, I'll just go to Michigan State. You know, it was just like I knew some people already there. It was comfortable. It was easy, as you said. It was the thing to do. If you were in Detroit, you went to Michigan or Michigan State for the most part. And so, you know, and I think like in hindsight, who would I be? What would I've done differently if I had taken that path? But you know, you just never know, which kind of leads me to my next question for everyone. Um, do you think your experience in life or your experience in college or anything would be different had you attended a PWI, predominantly white institution? And if so, how?
Mm.
I can say one thing, a couple things. I don't think I would have been on the tennis team because we were in the MEAC, you know, MEAC conference, you know, versus if I had actually looked at University of Maryland, I probably wouldn't have been on their team, you know, much less picking up the tennis balls, you know, just because they have a larger team and they can recruit internationally, right? And so being, you know, I had graduated from high school as a 3-sport athlete. So that kind of, I needed that to study, you know, I needed that really, I knew what type of student I was. I was a student athlete. Another thing was, you know, I looked at HBCUs because of the quainter, smaller, you know, kind of curated experience that I could get to. Like my professor would actually know who Diane Moore was. You know what I mean? That was important to me. I mean, not to say that all your classes are, you know, we probably have like history, but 1820 or whatever, the 1870, yeah, that might have 100 people in it, but then your English classes, your college algebra or whatever, or your majors, and when you get up into it, it's not going to be, you know, 100, 200 people, you know, and you're going to have that
Probably
access.
1,000 people at a PWI. I mean, literally, you're a number. They do not know you.
Wow. Yeah, that's not, you know, even my high school, you know, I didn't go to like the biggest high school, but I didn't feel like a number. Why would I want to feel like a number at, you know, college when I'm, you know, just being a consumer, you know, and I think those are the different things. It's not just, oh, is it HBCU? It's also, what is the experience? What are you looking for? Who are you looking to surround yourself by? What opportunities? You know, I was probably the second class or the second group that actually worked at Walmart Bentonville headquarters, the home of Walmart, Bentonville, Arkansas, town of 10,000. Okay. FAMU prepared me, meaning I think I was looking at the PWI podcast, and I think it was like, well, you know, you're going to go back in corporate America. I said, I've been around white people all my life. I don't forget how to talk and to deal with what you just don't forget it. Right. Just because you dip yourself into the HBCU experience. That's just not me. You know, so I knew I was confident in going right on back to where I came from, you know, you know, but you know, FAMU definitely pushes, you know, that internship experience. So that's another thing when you're shopping for your college is, you know, how easy is it to get those experiences you want, whether it be an international, you go to Black college, you can go. I know plenty of people went to China, had some exchanges, whatever. You're not limited, you know. I knew plenty of people that they went to, you know, Procter and Gamble, they went to Motorola for the summer, they went to, you know, wherever. It was not hard. And I think that's another reason why I was like, you know what, with FAMU, I'm going to have some opportunities. And I knew I wanted that corporate opportunity to kind of make me well-rounded. And I was able to have 2 corporate human resource internships. And also, but guess what? I found out in the back end that they actually talk to your professors. Okay. Because I had such a strong relationship with Professor Roseanne, God rest his soul, you know, and Addis Taylor, that, you know, I knew the dean of the economics department. Did you really, I mean, I'm just saying as a PWI going, I don't even know what that term, but did you know the dean? Did you have an intimate relationship with
only
the
because
dean?
I was in engineering, yes, because
it
was
small.
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 And I was like, me.
Me. They knew you. Okay, But, you know, if you get a larger major, maybe not.
Probably not. But I totally, I did. They knew me. Yeah.
They knew you. And
Yeah.
so once I found that out, and also they really ingrained professional development at FAMU. Okay. So I taught tennis because I was on the tennis team helping the coach out. I was teaching all my fellow, business majors, because even the business school was like, y'all need to go learn tennis. You need to learn golf, because guess what? We're going to say to Procter & Gamble, Pfizer, all these places, you need to know. Okay. So of course I got an A on tennis, but I'm on a tennis team and I'm teaching the tennis class. But that's that kind of carefully curated experience, and telling people like, you are leaving, HBCUs, you will be going back out in the world. And so there is that, we are steeped into reality. And I think there's this misnomer about that sometimes, where they're like, that's not real. Everything ain't chocolate. What are you talking about? Chocolate City. But let's go. I digress. I was incoming class of 91, and it's about the resources. When you have a dream, and people getting behind your dream. And one guy said, you know what, Dr. Humphreys, I want to make a film. And you know who that was? Will Packard and Rob Hardy. Okay. Didn't have a film school. The film school is at Florida State. Well, guess what? My professor, Ozanne, married to a film professor at Florida State. Well, guess what? FAMU connection, work in the room. They got money to make Chocolate City, which launched Rainforest Productions, which, guess what? Who did the Oscars? So that is the power, of believing in your students, creating from scratch, utilizing scarce resources. Okay. And now you made we have contributed a lot to Hollywood. Everybody knows that, but to other professions. Like when I went to Disney this past week for spring break, and my daughter is seeing a FAMU alumni, Anika Noni Rose, the first Black Disney princess from FAMU. So we still have a lot of firsts. And I think, Black educated souls, are still contributing those first, whether you're coming from, Michigan State, because you are the first in many rooms, right? And so also HBCUs are still contributing those first. We did a lot of firsts, but we still are contributing a lot of firsts. So,
yeah.
Michelle, I think that by the time you get to college, your character is what it is. So taking you were going to be this Michelle, just probably down south. You just would have had a little tan because you would have been in Atlanta. Todd at Michigan
would have known
State,
you sooner, because I go to Atlanta a lot.
Todd at Michigan State was still going to get his swerve on Todd Ivory style. However it is, but I'm saying that to say, when you with somebody enough, you know their character.
Yeah.
Christine, I can't see her not owning something. You know what I'm saying? So because her mind is as a creator, even going back to the last podcast, Bernadine and the Lloyd family, they are who they are. And I know them a little bit more intimately as good friends, but I don't care that she went to Michigan. I don't care that he went to Illinois. When I met them, we were partying very hard and making sure that everybody got home safely. So to see Lloyd on here, he was absolutely correct when he said we didn't have that title. For him to, whether he was recruited to Illinois for his academics or his athletics, that's who he is. He could have went to Western Illinois and probably been a superstar in football, but he chose Illinois, University of Illinois, for academics. I would tell a student, if I could tell a student, go where you're loved and go where you feel the love, number one. Number two, if you come from a small high school, don't go somewhere where you all of a sudden get sucked up. We went to a decent sized high school. When I stepped on Michigan State's campus, I was lost. I'm reaching for somebody who's no longer there. We swung the back door open of one of those halls, and I closed it back because I was a tweener. So if you have a mid B, I was a high C, low B student all day. That's on me just showing up. it's going to be pressing for me to get a high B. You put me in a situation where I can disappear and nobody knows me.
Yeah,
My
you have to
professors
know
are,
you. Yeah, you definitely got to know you.
yep, and my professor at FAM, and this is just my reality. At one point, I was homeless. I called one person, my lead professor in my department, who still I talk to him 3 days a week. Go to Western Union, do. Within 6 hours, my issue was solved. When my oldest daughter got rushed to the hospital, I called one person. The voice that told me I could. As a young man, this voice told me you didn't make it into architecture. If I was your professor, you would have made it through. But now that you're a construction engineer, let me teach you how to do this step by step. Our first day in, he takes all of my drawings and balls them up and throws them at me. Detroit starts raising up out of me. So I go to his office. We close the door. Todd, he turned around and looked at me. I say, hey, dog, why you do that? Because if I cut the head of the snake off, the body is going to follow. He saw the leadership in me that I didn't see in myself. He said, when you walk through the door, all the little ducklings followed you. Huh? We just homeboys. No, they following you, man. I need to teach you how to use your voice properly. So going back to your other question, that leadership, I find myself the president of 3 organizations all at once. I didn't graduate from high school and decide to be that type of guy, but people saw something in me and started grooming me. And if any students are out there listening to the 4 of us, find your fit, because one thing in our individual lives, people will probably say we're arrogant. It ain't that we're arrogant. We're confident because it's been instilled in us totally differently. Young man asked me why I wear orange every day, because I'm going to light up the room wherever I go. You're going to know I'm there from a positive standpoint. But if I can leave any parting words, find your fit. Education is important. And if it's not your fit, don't try to force it.
That's true. That's so true. And even take that a step further, I mean, sometimes you may not go directly to college, a big university, a big college. You might have to go to community college. And really, I didn't know anything about that, but really those first couple of years, there are universal classes that you're taking. If as long as they're transferable to a university, you can do that. I mean, I don't even think I knew that, to be honest with you. It was like you graduate, you're going to go to one of these, colleges, and you filled it out. I mean, in fact, at Benny, I think we had a class, and that's where I filled out my application to Mr. State, literally in that class. And I think the counselor submitted all of our, we did one, and that was the one I did. I mean, I did others aside from that, but really that was kind of what we were known to do. It wasn't even like, you can go to community college and consider this and then get your feeling. But I kind of knew what I wanted to do. But I'm just saying that for some students who are thinking like, wow, I'm about to graduate high school right now, and I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I'm sure I want to even go away. Am I comfortable? I know I'm not that great of a student. Maybe I need to get my sea legs to understand, because you're on your own. Nobody's knocking on your door. You got to wake up. It's 8:00. You got to go to class, and you're that kind of student. Maybe you need a little hand holding. That's always an option too. Just, to keep that in mind as well.
Michelle, my nieces did that.
Okay.
My nieces, they both went, they didn't know what they wanted, and they weren't going to wait. Luckily, they didn't waste anybody's money and time.
Yeah, that's another thing.
And they did 2 years at community college, and even community colleges and online institutions, they just have, been extremely, just places of opportunity now. And that wasn't back in the day.
It
really
wasn't.
much. And I commend it, because I was like, oh, that might be a good idea, and so then one went to Towson, University, one went to a state university, and one went to Howard. There you go. So there's more than one way to skin a cat, more than one way, to make it out here. The opportunities are limitless on how to navigate learning, whether it's take a gap year, whether it's I'm going to trade school, or I'm just going to rest, or I'm going to the military, or I'm just doing whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to know yourself, right?
Yes.
And I think, when you say I'm going to go to HBCU, it is definitely a very intentional process, right? In terms of, I know when growing up, I was like, well, I can't go to Hillman. So, okay, that doesn't exist. But so let's see where I'm going to go. No, I mean, but
right. But we all want to go to Hillman?
Yes.
We so did.
And I'm sorry for those who don't understand what that is. That's from the Bill Cosby show.
Yes.
And that was the runoff for their daughter, Denise. I dressed like Denise the entire time through high school because I was just like, that was like my thing. I didn't really have to, so yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you.
And
but
you fit it, like my sister wasn't, she was granola too. I mean, she just
right.
She was,
Eddie, why did you put
heavy
your head down?
metal.
Because I want to dress like Denise. What's up with that? Really?
Yeah, yes. My sister was like, I was really surprised she went to Howard because I was like, she was a heavy metal, not even heavy metal, punk rock band, whatever, and went to Howard. But she went there for their communication school. She went to school, her classmates with Anthony Anderson. You know what I mean? Wow. So she found her place. That just goes to show you that you can find your place in a Black college. You don't have to be this certain type of, I got to be bougie. I got to dress to the nines, wear heels across campus. No, come as you are. Come as you know what I'm saying? No, I mean,
it does. And it helps you. And I'm going to say, to be totally honest, I really think if I had started somewhere else, I was able to build my confidence in being Black and being me. I spent the rest of my career as a minority. And if I didn't have that grounding, being confident, when I walk in the room, I'm just as smart as everyone else. I've got a lot to contribute and add to the table. So I'm going to say this, to be totally 100% honest, you have your entire career to be the only one, to be one of five, to be one of one, and to walk into a room and be confident in who you are. When I tell you, it makes me feel like a rock star every time.
Yep.
Because I don't ever hesitate on who I am and what I am in any space. And right now, running 2 IT startups, I'm always the only one. When I go to IT conferences, I walk out on that stage, and Eddie, you're right. Denise Huxtable comes out because I play American Woman when I walk out on that stage. So don't play with it. I still got that Denise Huxtable in me, but I like it because I'm able to be a rock star in my own space. Eddie Flowers, okay? But I always give a shout out because I always tell people I started at Delaware State University. I'm the woman I am today, managing 2 IT startups, and I'm at the top of my game because I started at an HBCU. And then forget everything else that I've done. I don't care about all the other degrees. Those are the things that you have to get, because let me explain something to you, students and parents. People validate you based on your degrees.
Yep.
And you have no idea how many times I walk into a room and I got 4 degrees to your 1, but you still don't think I'm good enough. Understand that is like an emotional moment that you go through when your boss has a bachelor's in basket weaving from wherever, and you're like, dude, my bachelor's is in chemistry. What are you saying to me? Like, don't even play with this. But you know what? I had to just rock on. Don't start with me, Eddie Flowers, because I like rock and roll. I like country. I like R&B, and I like jazz. Don't fool with it. And I love Eminem. He's like my favorite rapper. Don't do it. Because Tupac is dead. Eminem took the spot.
Yeah.
Okay? The thing is, guys, you get confidence, and you need that when you go out into the world, because the world is going to knock you down, and you just got to know who you are in that space. That's all I have to say on that.
And Chris, I'm going to transition a little bit, because here's the sexiness behind what she just said, okay? And I'm using sexiness because I told you all the ratio was 17 to 1 in 1988. The sexiness of it is she's the only one, Diana's the only one. They're going to get home, throw on some shorts, throw a bonnet on, whatever they put on, not mess up their curls, get on the phone and talk from sister to sister, being the only ones. while they stirring up the pot with the baby on the hip, and all of this is, I am not
Who is stirring up
being
that pot
sexist.
with a baby on the hip?
I'm not being sexist, okay?
Cook.
What I'm saying is, whatever the picture is painted for you when you grow up, any children that's looking at going to school, you got your homegirl to call who's the only one. You the only one. Y'all can have that chop up. Todd and I are gonna go out to the basketball court, have that chop up, and then we can come home to our families whole. My boys, my best friend, Naval Academy, got a bunch of guys who went to Michigan State, all over the country. Their uptightness to me is crazy because they can never turn off. They can't call. Hey, Todd. You think I can? What should we do? I'm calling. Hey, T.I. Hey, dog. I'm on my way over, man. They tripping again. And then when we knotted up the next day, we gone, and we going out to war, knowing that those sisters are going to war. They gotta fight their fight. We gotta fight our fight. But we've been groomed to respect the fight that they're going through. I don't have to fight you as a couple for your place. You my woman. You just happen to go to school to do what it is that you do. It might make more money than I do, whatever, however that conversation goes. But at the end of the day, you need a soft spot to land. I need a soft spot to land. Mm-hmm. We know what the mission is, like Todd said, but we also know who's the enemy. So if you don't know who the enemy is, or you actually think that you're friends of the enemy, that's where we're going to start losing families. Kids not going to want to deal with you because nothing is authentic. And it gets to a point where some folks can't come home.
Yeah.
When you're scared to go back to the D is the D. Baltimore is Baltimore. When you can't go back to the place where you're from that actually groomed you to get to where you're going, you have to ask yourself, what is the real mission? Is it money and status? Is it lift as we climb? What is it? Because at the end of the day, we can have the status, and Michelle, I'm just plugging your name in, okay? Mm-hmm. But Michelle comes back from the Northeast. She goes to the D. Michelle might not be relatable. You know, Denise Huxtable might not be relatable.
Really?
When they
We're
come
doing that? Michelle,
yeah, we're doing that. We're doing that.
Denise. And more importantly, I need to know, Eddie, are you cooking with a baby on your hip for your wife?
No, I'm getting the whole body suit.
And just to let you know, me and Michelle already talked about it. That coming to the D sometimes can be a little unrelatable for us, but not because we don't get it. It's just that we've seen the world.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. It's not that we're unrelatable. It's just that we've seen the world and we get it. Right.
You just don't want to stay still. I always say that, literally after I graduated from Michigan State, I said I was not going to stay in Michigan. I purposely said I was going somewhere else. And I've never gone back to live, I should say. But I've been back several times. But like Christine said, once you've seen this, and I'm like, okay, now I want to live in Chicago. Okay, now I want to live in New York. Oh, now I want to live, you've seen it. Now you got an option. And it's just like, it's not so much that I've done that, right? I've done that chapter. And my people are still there, my family and everything. But they're so I want to go somewhere else next. I don't want to stay in New York. I'm about to go somewhere else, so watch, y'all see me. So you'd be like, she living somewhere else. That's just me, because once you've seen the world, you don't want to stop moving. Because I'm like, y'all know what's all out here. You can go and take this international. It's a whole that's just all the way different. But just even within these 50 states, it's like, so much.
Michelle, I'm looking at right now. Honestly, I'm looking at getting my pilot's license. I never thought about getting a pilot's license, but we are getting too old to be talking about road tripping, and I don't know who's still coughing. So let me get on Todd's plane and drive. I drop Todd wherever he go, and I'm going to drive and pick Christine up. But at the end, like you said,
that's okay, Eddie. I'm going to marry a black pilot. Don't even worry about me. Me and my baby on the hip is getting on that plane. Don't even worry about it.
But and see that banter, that's that love right there. For anybody out here watching, that's that.
Oh
love,
yeah, by
you know?
the way, guys, that's what this is, because I really know Eddie. Trust and believe. He's the sweetest guy I know in the world. And I'm gonna tell you, this right here, you're seeing it in real time. This is Black love for every person on the this is what you do, and this is the relationships you build. Like I told Michelle, when she comes into town, I want to be clear. I came back because my dad had terminal cancer.
Yep.
If my dad never had terminal cancer, I never would have left Delaware. And because of that, though, I'm going to be honest, I started both of my companies here, but they're global companies. My clients are all over the world. I can live anywhere. So I'm going to be honest with you. Now that my son is in college, I'm definitely out. Michelle and I are talking about where we're going next. We've been discussing that. But I told Michelle when she comes into town, like, we're hooking up, right? And do our thing, because it's the next step. And you guys, I got to understand, when you attend colleges and universities, regardless whether it's at a non-HBCU, I hate to say, what we call, which is PWIs, but a non-HBCU, as long as you're from hometown, urban living, that's family.
Yeah.
That is family. And I just want to say to you guys, like, it's so important. You got to understand, you need that. Because out here in corporate world, even when you have your own business, and Todd will tell you, having your own business and still being Black, you still Black. Just that simple. He's still Black.
So let me ask this question. Let me ask this question. So what's important to you guys as having a safe haven to live? So I'll give you an example. Part of the reason I moved to the South was for economic value. I saw early that the South was cheaper than the North. I saw that they were more friendly in the South than they were in the North. I saw that even though we came from a predominantly Black city, the South, even though they said it was racist, you saw more Black people having the ability to obtain things quicker than we did in the D. So of course, Michelle, Ed, you would see Chaldeans owned everything on the corner. Okay. Right. If the Chaldeans didn't own the liquor stores or the Coney Islands, the white folks owned everything else. So to come to the South and see more so Southern hospitality, but at the same time, I could walk into a government building and say, I want to apply for this, and they give it to me with no qualms because of my skin color. I immediately called home and said, oh, I'm not coming home. Nothing had to be. The weather, it's December. It's 85 degrees. I'm not coming home.
That's interesting, because you think about it in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even before then, slavery, you always heard how rough and how bad it was for our people in the South, right? I mean, in fact, my grandparents migrated from the South to the North, right? It was almost like they were moving to get to something better, but then it's like this migration back down. That's probably where I'll be next, is somewhere in the South, somewhere warm, somewhere where I feel more relaxed. I mean, it is stressful in the North. I've been in very stressful cities, Boston, Chicago, Detroit. I mean, they're high, fast paced moving, and everybody's on edge, and it is relaxing. And every time I do go down, like to Atlanta, it's different. I mean, I'd love to see Black professionals doing it, wealthy, having their own business, and and all of that. And you have some of that in the North, but it just seems like it's so much more acceptable.
It's a lot more red tape that you got to deal with in other cities. So when I'm talking to other entrepreneurs, and I explain the process of how to start a business, what to do, how to do things, how to go inside the bank, everybody's saying to me, well, I didn't know it was that easy. Where I was coming from, they wanted damn near my blood type in order to open up an account or to do this or to do that. And I'm like, oh, we don't have those issues here. So I'll give you another prime example. Of course, Ed and Michelle, going inside the bank in Detroit, you got bulletproof glass. You got bulletproof glass at McDonald's. Now you in the South.
That we don't have bulletproof glass at the 8 Mile PNC on Woodward. Don't do it, Todd. That is my thing. Don't do it, Todd. No bulletproof.
Walk in Chase right now and see what it looked like. Walk in Bank of America and D and see what it looked like.
That Chase on Grand River, you darn right they need it, because the Burt Road boys are over there. Don't they need it. Okay.
Now, see, I grew up in that area. So for me to be in the South and not see that problem, and then I had a chase here and then go to Detroit and be like, oh, because my mother grew up on Grand River and Foyer. So I'm like, okay, let me run up to the bank, put a check in the bank and take some money out. And then I'm looking like, why I got to go through a metal detector? Why I got to let this door close before this door open? This is a problem, but I know how the D is. We grew up like that.
Yeah.
That was what the D was. So you got to understand, we come from a city where we were adaptable to all things possible, whether good, bad, or indifferent. You got to understand, growing up in Detroit in the, like you said, the late 80s or late 70s, going into the early 80s, we were unstoppable. That drug era, that whole, as we tell stories while we were in college, just think about all the times you guys were around your friends or the new friends that you met, and you all are telling war stories to each other about growing up in high school. Couldn't nobody tell you that, oh, my high school had all the finest girls and they all got on mink coats and they all wearing Gucci and all this before we even knew about Gucci.
We didn't have
that was the whole status quo. That was the norm.
We were barely wearing we were wearing Calvin Klein and Sassoon. Don't
all
play that. We were wearing Calvin Klein. Don't fool
in the 9th grade.
I know.
So it's like, to come in the South, I can recall having multiple conversations with all of my friends from, the whole AUC Center, meaning Spelman, Clark, and Morris Brown, and just having those conversations about where we come from and listening to the DC people tell their stories, listening to the Florida people, the New York people tell their stories, and they like, well, how y'all do that? How was y'all able to achieve that without being killed? You know what I'm saying? It's like, that was a way of life.
You know what? And that's a strong testament to our parents, because I always say this. I think that we're the first real generation of free black. From the standpoint,
you said free black.
Did he say that, Michelle? Did he really say free black?
Yep. And here's why I say that. We don't answer to a whistle, if you will. Right. We don't have to work in a municipality.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We don't have to work in a school system. You look at the migration of our grandparents, school teachers and factory workers, for those who did that. And then you had some who worked in governmental buildings. But 7 to 3:30, toot, I can get off. That was my father for 47 years. Now, for us to be able to go and work for 5 hours a day, if you will, and get the same amount of money that he was getting as a skilled trade for Ford Motor Company, and my insurance be just as good as his, he's looking at saying, you not working 90 hours a week? So when I say we're the first, and then we have the opportunity of sitting here talking about global traveling. Yeah, we have the opportunity of talking about globalization of two businesses. We're sitting here talking about, when I hang up, I'm going to talk to Todd about how do I establish this in this state, and this state, so that I can have passive income. Our parents very rarely had that. Now, did they have it? Yes, but very rarely.
Right.
So that's and so when you start looking at going to a Benedictine, here's what my mother told me, because I never understood why she put me in a Catholic school, because I barely went to church. She told me this: you were going to either St. Mary's of Redford or Benedictine, the only two parochial schools that she knew in the city, not knowing about the poorest and anybody else. She said you were either going to be the henchman of the group or the kingpin. Your mentality of entrepreneurship is you either gonna wipe out the competition or you gonna take 40 guys and put them in position to sell this thing called crack. So she strategically put me at a school where when I show up, a little buzz cut white guy says, you Eddie Flowers, I heard about you. Oh my goodness, you heard about me. Oh, you must think I'm fly. He hit me up and said, practice tomorrow at 3, and you're going to see Sister Sheila right now. I was an artist. I was an artist. She streamlined that and made me a draftsman. Now, college recruiting comes. Who do I go to? Sister Sheila. Sister Sheila, what do I do with all of this drawing? Oh, you're going to architectural school. So we still didn't even have the mentorship in our community to get us out of this parochial school and tell us what to do academically. When I went on my Michigan State trip, I caught a Greyhound bus. My mother couldn't take off work to take me on no recruiting trip to play football. Dude, if you go, you go. Just tell me where to drop your stuff off.
Right.
So what you're saying, Todd, when I got down there and I go, Todd, this is when you went, your phone went off. I get the fam. The lady pulls my pants up. Son, you don't have to look like that no more. You don't have to look like this anymore. So, to your point, I'm looking for 6 acres with a stream in the back so I can see the ducks land, that sense of peace, that calmness that will allow a Christine Burkett to think and create 2 global companies and not have to worry about if somebody's coming in her house or not. That's huge. But then when I brought that Southern hospitality back, people saw the gentleman 2 doors down who sent all of that film out for me. That was my introduction to Greek life. We didn't see it in Detroit. I saw his tag and asked him what it was. He said, when you get to your university, you will understand it. You will choose a fraternity off of the type of person that you are, off of your personality traits. So my whole family is Sigmas. In Michigan, the SIGs are big.
Are they?
They were back then, Chris.
Back then.
I get to Florida. All my boys that are Sigmas got high top fade and they dance like Kid and Play. Love them to this day because they all bald now. But I didn't dance like Kid and Play. So, I'm like, if I got to step and look like that, then I'm going to look like a clown. But I'm saying that to say that fit again, Todd. You look up, and once you get what we did at these schools, we grew grown with people. We were kids when we went in, and we grew grown. So when I see a Jerome Buffington, I know that I can go and sit on his sofa, and it ain't no shenanigans. I can go to sleep, and it ain't gonna be no shenanigans. When I see my guys that went to Tuskegee, when I see my guys that went to Southern, we would leave fam, go to Jackson State, pick up my cousin, go to Southern, get my other boys. We had hit New Orleans 10 cars deep for Mardi Gras. Oh my goodness!
Now that was the bomb.
Look,
Mardi Gras with HBCU style.
Almost transferred.
Or the classic games, Atlanta Classics.
Are we supposed to tell the students about the party? Don't talk
Yeah,
about the party.
absolutely.
Because I was going to say, okay, listen, students, this is real talk. You're going to party. You got to learn how to manage your liquor and your partying. We're going to keep it real. You want to do some partying? It happens 24 hours a day on an HBCU campus. Now, unlike, 3 other people who went to private school, I went to Northwestern High School, which is a public school here, because it was the only school with a planetarium. And I needed a planetarium because I was a science geek. That's the point I'm making here. But students, when I went to an HBCU, my first day on the campus, it was a party. And who threw it? The Qs. So I'm going to say to you, honey, you got to stay focused because those parties are going to happen. Get your work done and don't get caught up, because like I told my son, you're going to see more beautiful Black women in one place focused on education you've ever seen in your life. And it's going to transform what you thought you could manage. Okay. And young ladies, when you think about, I don't know, the Black Mecca of fineness, honey, put on your seatbelt. Because when I walked past the boys' dorm, all I could do was say, ooh la la. There are some fine Black men at these HBCUs, but you got to focus. I'm just going to keep it real. So parents, that's real talk. Because normally you don't see that many educated Black folks really focused in one location. And then they're also like fine. It blows your mind. Because you know what I'm saying, Diane? You got to get it together. You got to focus. Because you're going to be late for class. You're going to end up being late. Don't be late, ladies and gentlemen. Go to class. All right.
It teaches you prioritization. When you see so many brothers and sisters who are like, I'm on this scholarship, I'm on that scholarship, and they were the best from wherever they came. Like you said, they were valedictorians, they were national merit scholars, whatever. I mean, these people, they turned down, some pretty good packages, Georgia Tech, Harvard, wherever their state colleges, whatever they did. And they said, we're going to make a decision to come here to this Southern hospitality. And I am so glad that, I did go. I was one of those people, I never even went to FAMU. The first day I saw FAMU was the first day they drove me there.
First time you got there.
So this was like I said, once again, culture shock. I think I've been as far as Kentucky and Atlanta in my life before.
So
Florida
Diane,
didn't make it there yet.
So Diane, my mom takes me to school, right? It's football practice. Her car breaks down. Gentleman across from the softball field, it was a car shop right on the corner. It was just a radiator cap, so we fixed it. So she comes back, she whistles me down. I come over to the fence and say bye. She said, "There's some fine women on this campus." Yeah, ma. So I'm thinking she clowning because she knows how I am. She was like, "I'm gonna tell you one thing. I'm gonna tell you a couple of things. I'm gonna leave $99 in your bank account, a one-way ticket home. I can't do nothing after that. After that, you done shot your wad." She said, "But if you start dating, you're going to date a fine woman because I have not seen an ugly one yet." She said, "When you go into her place, go to two places. Go into her bathroom and her kitchen." She said because
kitchen, Eddie, so make sure
she was talking about, she knew I wasn't coming home, Chris. And she told me that, Todd, dig this. She said, because if she will sit on a dirty toilet, she'll feed you off a dirty plate.
That's true.
And that's how I started formulating, okay, look, you smell good, but what's your grade point average? My every lady that I dealt with in college, nobody had
where are you interning for the summer?
There you go.
That's it.
That was always my question.
A man, I learned to like a man with a plan.
With the plan.
And
that's not all schools.
I'm saying is you want intelligent brother. You want like I'm gonna tell my daughters. I was like, you want the nerd. I married a nerd.
Yeah,
okay?
That's what you want.
Nerds are sexy at a black
college.
Hot.
They are hot. I just want to keep it real. Desi, if you're watching.
Or any college, right, Michelle? Anybody, right?
Look, Diane, I got a minor in computer science because the boy I liked, he didn't even recognize me. He didn't even know who I was. Wow. I shadowed him in all his classes in computer science. That's how I ended up getting into technology. Thank you, Desi. I still love you.
That's called stalking, Chris.
I think it's those little stories. When I talk to other HBCU alum, they have these little, it's like those Oprah aha moments.
Yeah.
Guess what Oprah was? She went to HBCU. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
and Diane, don't forget, where else can you run for like, I ran for Miss Delaware State. If you go to a non-HBCU, just to experience that moment. By the way, Eddie, I was runner-up, and don't fool with it, Eddie. I was runner-up. I just want to throw that out there.
Congratulations.
That was like a moment, right? That I felt like my people accepted me. And I do have a level of like cuteness, right? That lit the fire. It didn't really light it too much because I still went back to being me, Denise Huxtable. But I'm saying that experience was awesome because a parade when you're running for like whatever, that's like running for Miss what is that? Miss America. That's like awesome rock star at an HBCU. That stuff is kind of hot.
So I remember we all grew up, no lie. Everybody waited for the ebony Black college campus edition.
Right?
You did too, Michelle.
Right?
All I'm saying is everybody waited for that issue. Yes. And so that's where I got somebody saying I gotta do some math, but hold on. I'm in second grade math, but I'll be with you in a second. Only mama knows how to do math. But anyway, and I think, things like that. What was the culture like? Guess what? I feel so sorry for young folks now because where is the print version of
I know.
And Ebony? That was that also translates in Black culture here. Like that was our Black Twitter.
That was our
Black Twitter had a print.
Wow.
That was and Jet, right?
Jet,
Don't forget Ebony and Jet. That was our Black Twitter, our Black Facebook.
Wait, wasn't your goal to be like, I married a Morehouse man, and here's the wedding?
Oh, I remember those
Yes!
wedding pictures in there.
This is, she's
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it. That's why I wanted to go to
from
Spelman.
Pew,
So I
and
could
then
marry
so
a
the
Morehouse
West.
man.
So it wasn't until
Right,
my
but I'm just saying
sophomore year that
was
they
that marriage
integrated.
area, right? Like,
Yeah.
that was a story. There you go.
It wasn't until my sophomore
those
year that they
schools were
integrated.
iconic.
Really?
Integrated at Morehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, to where we could take classes at both sides.
Oh, wow.
Like the girls could come over and take classes, and we can go over to Spelman. It wasn't until my sophomore year that we could do that.
Now, what was that experience like, man?
Thank God I wasn't there.
I
would have never got a degree.
It reminded me of high school because, of course, high school was co-ed. So for me, my thought process was I could focus on my books, from 8 to 3. Then I can go across that yard and play the rest of the day. So you know what I'm saying?
Did y'all wear bow ties to the classes still?
No, we ain't had to do that.
I might have been able
to. Well, let me say this. As freshmen, in the beginning, we had to be a little suited and booted. Okay. As freshmen for about a semester, and then they changed it. Okay. If I do recall. But it was just the experience of course, you had an all-male school, and we all learning, so we don't have a distraction. We don't have so-and-so coming in with skin-tight skirt on or skin-tight sweatpants on or whatever. So probably, we waited till after class, and then we running over to Clark, Spelman, Morris Brown, wherever else. But I think it was my first semester sophomore year, they start integrating it, letting the girls come over to us, and we could go over to Spelman and take classes and stuff like that. That became better. But that whole experience of, like y'all say, learning, being camaraderie. I can remember my whole Detroit crew. We would, when it came down to taking classes, we'd be at somebody's house and planning the whole course curriculum together. Like, make sure everybody got 12 o'clock off so we can meet down at this wall at the end of the day and, talk smack to each other and figure out where the girl's going and da-da-da-da.
Or even who had the car so we could make sure everybody got to campus.
Yep.
Especially when you moved off campus. We didn't talk about off-campus living.
Oh, man.
Honey, that's grown folk. While you in college, you just a grown folk up in the college, off campus doing it.
That was a whole nother situation.
Whole nother situation. Todd, I'm gonna go back
don't
to
move off campus. Don't listen to us. Stay on the campus. Focus on your books. Don't listen to us. Okay, go ahead.
Don't bring a car yet.
Todd, I'm gonna go back to what you were saying as far as the dressing. The funny thing is, I'm in Florida. Daisy Dukes just came out.
Yeah.
They started coming in, and here's the twisted thing. The teachers started marching them out. Go back and change. You're a college student.
Mm-hmm.
You're a college student. Luke had taken over. Hit Doodle Brown. Yeah, go. Because that's for the nightlife.
Mm-hmm.
I learned timeliness from my calculus professor. 8 o'clock class, the door closed at 7:55. You walk in, you got to go line up. He's going to tell you what to do and close the door back. Calculus, for real, you miss a session with calculus, you done missed how to do derivatives. So, and back then, every major had to take calculus. So we in there, the Qs come in pledging, and they're late. He was the grad advisor. Class
was he Dr. Anderson? Was it Dr. Anderson? Oh yeah, Dr. Anderson.
Yep. Yeah. Class was canceled for the rest of the day. He marched them over to the frat house, and they did not have that problem again, and they didn't come in their pledge clothes. They came in regular clothes. You are not getting ready to make, number one, this fraternity look bad. Number two, you're engineer students on scholarship because you got to come through me. So when you start looking at and going back to the last podcast, Michelle, when somebody said the professors caring, all professors care. That's why we're in the business. I've been a professor since 2009. All of us care. We want to see students get to the next level, but there's a different level of caring. When I end up in the hospital with one of my very first students, because his daughter is the same age as mine, she's running a temperature and he's a single dad. We get there and the doctors tell him every tooth in her mouth is rotten and she's almost septic. because the mother is giving her 2 liters and not milk.
Oh boy.
That's when that level of caring goes to the next level. Why did I do it? I did it because I was able to call my professor and he answered, "Hey man, it's $500 waiting for you. All right, doc, I'll get it back to you." I didn't ask you to give it back to me. I just told you it was $500. Get your mama out of somebody else's house and get that apartment. And then I make calls and then it's time for my kid to go to school. Hey, Chris, I'm looking at sending Cameron to this school. Yeah, but don't send her to this school. Hold on, I'm looking at it on the computer. Boom, boom, boom. What Chris doesn't know is I'm turning my students on now to IT certifications. Everybody's not going to college. Get those certifications, start making money. Another rattler who I went to school with, we took physics together. We stayed in touch. She's the president of a welding school now. I sent one. I have 2 more lined up to go to welding college because they're sitting at home on mama's sofa. So that once again, that connectivity that we have goes back to growing grown with folks. I haven't talked to Todd in about 20 years.
20.
Haven't missed a beat.
Yeah.
Haven't missed a beat. You know, when Diane I emailed her and she inboxed me, "What's up, bro?" Instant connection. You know, and it's just a feel that you get when you grow grown around your peer group and nobody is out to get you.
Yeah.
And nobody's out to get you. It's just a good feeling. You know, my roommate and I, we talk. Now he has more children than I. Well, he has 2 older children, so he's gone a lot. But we have parallel lives. He was the number 1 linebacker in New Jersey, getting ready to go to Oklahoma, paralyzed his right arm. So I hurt my neck. He paralyzed his arm. Our mothers get injured in the same month, same year, disabled. His brother is a fireman. Mine is a cop. Both of us know of our fathers, and I'll leave it at that. So those parallel lives, it's like you're gonna find your mix on these campuses, and then you're gonna clown about it 30 years later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is his shirt. I bought it for him, and he ain't got it yet. So I wash it and send it up to
Oh my gosh, are you wearing this shirt?
I hope he ain't watching.
He probably is. He's gonna watch the replay.
Michelle, who gives somebody a used shirt? Who does that? Eddie Flowers.
You don't know it's used.
You just told him it was used. Are you kidding
But guess
me?
what? He'll still love it because
He's gonna love it because it's on.
He'll still love it,
Chris, because it got that on it. Nah.
You know what? Is that what it is? It's that FAMU. I wish I was in my studio because Reggie Diller sent me a DSU pillow that his company designed.
Wow.
And they're selling paraphernalia. And he gave me one of their first mock-ups. And I told him, I said, when it came in the mail, I just had such pride. And then I had the audacity to say, can I get 4 more, please? I wanted to make it a combo. You know what I mean? Like on a sofa, because I have so much pride for DSU. So I'm just going to say, folks.
Okay. I know we are way over time, but it's been so exciting. And
we got to do a part 2.
I know that's what everybody say on the part 1 or the first one I did. They were like, we got to do a part 2. So I am gonna get together and do a part 2 for both the PWIs and the HBCUs. Get together and we're gonna do this again. I mean, I was thinking about doing like the younger generation too, having them come in and kind of giving us that kind of, you know, view of what they see the world as now, because I hear that Michigan State is drastically different than when I went there, and I don't know about the HBCUs, but there's probably a lot that has changed there. Absolutely. But please at least join. You know, you always can, you know, be in the comment section. We got so many comments here, and you'll be able to see these online as well. So I don't want to hold us here because we can be here all night. Literally, we can, and this is how it is with this show. Any of my show, I think this one is the longest show I've ever had. Maybe one of the COVID shows when it first came out, but this is running up there with the longest show. But it was so informative. I got all kinds of wonderful comments. They're like, this is very informative, great show. People love this conversation, and I think we've taught students a lot, prospective students on, you know, I can't say they made a decision one way or the other, but I would say they have been well informed. So with that, I do want to kind of close us out here, make sure that we respect. I know some people have some commitments and whatnot, and some math problems to get to. So let me let me say this. I'd like to give a special thanks to our panelists, Christine Burkett, Eddie Flowers, Todd Ivory, and Diane Moore Richardson. I'd like to thank all of you out there in S.M.A.C Nation. If you haven't joined S.M.A.C Productions on Facebook, please do so. Also, subscribe and like our YouTube channel. And please, please, please invite your family and friends to join. Watch the replay, share the replay. It'll be on both of those outlets where you can view it again. And with that, I was going to, we're just gonna have to do this again, y'all, because you know what I'm saying, we'd be here all night. But I'm gonna say with that, we're gonna close the show, and I just want to thank everyone again, and let's just try to get back together soon. And God bless all of you, and have a good night, everyone.